Burgers and fries ain't no lies. Can you believe it? McDonald's restaurants is pulling out of Russia after over 30 years of doing business there. They are permanently closing, and that's why it's important to tell you about it on VFI News. So let's look at what's really happening in this Russia-Ukrainian conflict or war or battle, however we want to look at it. It's a very serious time in world history because right now, after over 80 days of war and conflict, Russia's losses are mounting up. In fact, the Ukraine claims that Russia has lost 27,400 troops killed since the start of the war, which was on February 24, 2022. 200 Russian aircraft, 1,220 tanks. I didn't even know they had more than that. 416 drones destroyed, 164 helicopters, 416 unmanned aerial vehicles, 2,958 armored vehicles, 195 multiple rocket launcher systems, 2,087 other vehicles, 95 cruise missiles, 89 anti-aircraft systems, and a partridge in a pear tree. No, not to make too much fun of it, 13 boats, a couple ships, and 12 Russian generals as of now who have been taken out either by Ukrainian sniper fire, or I heard there's actually a Canadian expert sniper who's actually involved in this conflict. And the UK's Ministry of Defense estimates that 1/3 of Russia's combat troops are either dead due to the conflict or wounded or disabled. That's how much Russia is losing. Now, of course, I'm quoting Ukrainian statistics, but even as I'm sitting here sharing all this with you, being 25% Ukrainian in my own past, and hoping that this conflict will end soon and that innocent men, women, and children on both sides will not suffer anymore, I will tell you this: Russia is losing this war. According to Mick Mulroy, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East, he said the leadership in war, they do not delegate authority in the Russian military, so they are giving orders directly to their forces. The lack of delegation is another reason the Russian military is performing so poorly, and many of its senior leaders and officers and commanders have been picked off or killed in the battle. In fact, Russian communication systems are continually being hacked through cell phones, through all sorts of communications which are not so sophisticated. So it is showing the weakness of the Russian military. Now, what else is happening? Putin, yes, Putin. And I don't mean this Putin, I mean other Putin. Yes, Vladimir Putin, Russia's president. Can he survive? He is supposed to be known to have blood cancer. What will he do if he's backed into a corner, knowing he is going to die sooner than later? Will he flick the nuclear switch? His oligarch friends are for the most part furious with Putin. Their yachts and homes are being seized, as you've all heard about or read about. And can you imagine how their children are cursing their parents because of it? Because they can't be on TikTok anymore. In fact, they're losing their wealth. That's the byproduct of war and the byproduct of a crazy man, Putin, right now in power. But last but not least, and what brings me back to McDonald's again, is the economy of Russia. Russia's finance ministry says the economy will contract in its GDP by 12% this year. That's amazing. That's really bringing it to a near total collapse. Inflation is almost at 17%. Russian store shelves are being emptied out. Russia spends $900 million per day on the conflict and with the Ukraine. And that is maybe why Russia spends $900 million per day on the conflict with the Ukraine. And that may be the reason why Russia is finally pulling back its forces. In fact, they've pulled out of an eastern Ukrainian city called Kharkiv, basically defeated. Russia is heavily sanctioned by most countries, other than, of course, Belarus, particularly the Western sanctions in Europe and North America. This will be the biggest suffering in the Russian economy since 1994, with the collapse of the former Soviet Union. Right now, Russia is propped up by their natural gas sales to European nations in multi-millions of dollars. But if they discontinue buying natural gas from Russia, I believe the economy will totally collapse, and they won't be able to support this war. Unemployment will hit 7% soon, and more multinational companies like McDonald's and others will be closing up shop, as they already have been doing. And if the dreams and the basic financial needs are not met for the people, then they will turn on Putin and his henchmen. One oligarch is quoted as saying, quote, "Putin has absolutely ruined Russia's economy, Ukraine's economy, and many other world economies. The problem is with his head. One crazy guy can suddenly turn the world upside down." The oligarch goes on to say he killed more people in 10 years than in the Soviet-Afghan war. So the final icing on the cake, or I should say the ketchup and mustard on the burger, is that this week it's reported that McDonald's is selling all its Russian locations and permanently closing, leaving the country after 30 years. It opened its first location in 1990 after the Cold War was coming to an end, and then it opened up multiple franchise operations all over Russia from 1991 onwards. The company will just write off $1.4 billion in losses as it leaves Russia. Putin never wanted to see any nations on their border with Russia join NATO, but this conflict that he propagated has caused Finland and Sweden to reach out to the West, to reach out to the European Union, and to ask for membership in NATO. Even though Turkey is opposing, it looks like they're going to move towards this very quickly, and this is the very thing he wanted not to happen, but by his actions, that's what's happening. So the old biblical saying goes, what you sow, you reap, and that's all I can say about Putin. Putin him out to pasture is the only answer we have at this point. And that is the VFI News. Send me your comments. Send me and write me what you think and ask me any questions you'd like, and I hope to write you back. If not, I'll see you on the other side of nuclear war. Blessings.